Hello and welcome to another Doctor Assistant 1 video, and today I'm doing a behind the scenes so far to part 5. Yes, I think it's part 5. So literally after this one I have one more part to do of the Kraken and that's it. So yeah. I'd love to hear your feedback, comments saying that it's good, or things that haven't been so good, or what could be improved, what you have enjoyed, what you haven't, and again how I could improve that. I've really enjoyed having this Drashig to work with because it's been something different. It's a different villain. It's unique as a piece of merchandise because they've never really released any other sort of, well, I was going to say figure like this, but piece of merchandise because it's a puppet, so so that's been a different and interesting and unique experience. Yeah. What else? Oh, that reminds me, I found the pistol that Jack used in some of the earlier parts, but obviously not until later, after I'd swapped it for one of Rick Grimes' pistols, which just so happens to be a silent pistol. Now this huge ass AK, or what looks like an AK-47 or something along those lines. I'm not massively, well, I quite like my FPS games, but I'm not massively into guns. I don't know what type of gun this is, if it's supposed to be like a certain type of gun, but nonetheless I got it from my Marvel Select Deadpool figure. It's just hanging over there in the sort of waiting room of figure reviews. So yeah, you got just a little sneak peek of upcoming reviews if you're really into my reviews on my channel. This is actually just from these bits of box are just from a shoebox which I tore up and use, obviously, as you can tell, a lot of the time as debris. Alex, his character is kind of questioning, obviously, who the Doctor is, since he's just literally in the last part murdered Drashig, which then prevents really the Drashigs from destroying humanity, because if you're wondering, oh well, why wouldn't just another Drashig come into its place? Well, basically the backstory that I didn't really explain very well is that the rest of the Drashigs are slumbering underneath like the sea, and basically this one's like the leader, so he's the one who has the duty of killing humanity and then making the world inhabitable for the rest of the species. But now that he's dead, none of the rest of the species would know whether or not it'd be habitable or not. So, and stuff. And so that's why the War Doctor, or the Dark Doctor in my series, shot the Drashig. And yeah, I really wanted to drive home this sort of idea of, the Dark Doctor being more dark, more sort of war-torn, agitated about the war, about the Time War, about, the fact that he's killed to get to where he is, that he's seen deadly things, You've got to think, the Dark Doctor, or just the sort of War Doctor in general even, has seen, things that are unspeakable, and that hence the reason why I put in that bit of dialogue, he's seen things that would make your average grown man weep, and, out of the two genders, male and female, well, historically at least, I know women can be strong emotionally, as well as men, but, back in the day, men were kind of regarded as the more sort of emotionally strong, and so that's why I thought of that quote, or that sort of bit of dialogue, because for a man to weep at something, it must be extremely terrifying. I mean, I know you get your sort of more emotional kind of men who do cry and find it fine to cry, but then you get those sort of men who are very tough and that. And I'd like to think the War Doctor would be one of those very much more stern, tough, emotionally tough kind of characters. And for him then to say that he has cried in the Time War, because he's seen such horrendous things, really drives home, I hope at least, the sort of idea of how bad the war was for him, both physically and mentally, even more so. And I'm beginning to realise that I feel like if you really want a comparison of Alex's character, if you've read Engines of War, I'd like to think that I've really sort of manifested Cinder's character into sort of a character of sorts, like a physical being of sorts. I'd like to think, anyway. Yeah, Engines of War, I'm reading that at the minute, that's really good. What else? Yeah, Series 6. Yeah, this is Series 6. Part 6 will tell you, obviously, resolve what the cliffhanger was, that the Doctor's... Well, he's not dead. Or is he? Dun dun dun. He's dying, and I obviously know why and what's happening, but, you know, that's the cliffhanger. And obviously, you know, it's called the Kraken, this story, because, as I say, or I don't know if I have said actually, but yeah, Jack says that, you know, it's the Kraken. He thinks that it's the Kraken when actually it's a Drashig, so it could have been called the Drashig, but then that would have just given it away that it was the Drashig anyway. So, but yeah. And I also wanted to drive home the sort of idea that the sort of Dark Doctor sometimes just doesn't care about humanity, or not in the sort of small, insignificant way that most humans do. You know, like Alex is caring about just Tyler being dead, and she's like, "Oh, Doctor, Tyler's dead, you know, this is a big thing." But to him, you know, that is like an ant, when the rest of the, you know, the world, the rest of humanity is like that one person. You know, that's the scale difference, you know. So to him, the whole planet, every single person on the planet is just like one person to him. And so one person to him would actually be just like completely insignificant. But then I guess I kind of contradict that, because then he's like, you know, really annoyed about the fact that 3 people have died. So he still does care, but he doesn't. He does and he doesn't. He does because obviously it's wrong for the Drashig to kill 3 people. But it's like, you know, 3 people are dead. So what? You know, at least all. You know, now at least all of humanity is saved. You know, but at the cost of killing the Drashig. Will the Dark Doctor's spirit and sort of conscience live with that action? That's the thing you've got to think about as well. And that might dwell on the War Doctor, the Dark Doctor, for later days. I don't know, I might seed a plant here and kind of make it something, you know, he might go off the rails in a later story, and you know, and kind of go mental because he killed this Drashig or something, you know, maybe, I don't know. I'd like to think Alex knows the Doctor pretty well, but as she just said at the end, you know, who are you, Doctor? You know, she's kind of questioning who he is, because, you know, in The Runaway Girl, her first sort of, you know, appearance, he's quite nice, he's quite dashing and takes a liking to her, and he's quite much more gentle, and that. I think it goes, Dalek Civil War is dark, aggressive. Runaway Girl is sort of much more into his own body and sort of laid back, more relaxed, but with that darkness in the background. And then the Kraken, the darkness and the darkness, the anger and the rage just bounce back out and are just at the forefront, really, much like it was in Dalek Civil War when he was created and put into the War Doctor's body, or the darkness of the Doctor was manifested even into a physical body. But yeah, hopefully you stick around and watch the Kraken Part 6, which is the final part to the Kraken, and then the next story is the Warrior of Time. So yeah, thanks for watching, comment, rate and subscribe.